it's the end of day 3 of the Inspired Conference, and we have with us George Bohlender. And I'm going to leave it over to him to introduce himself. You might have seen him yesterday at the end of the day with Honey, giving a summary, a fantastic summary of the second day of our conference. And we're bringing to you somebody with great insight in the industry. So over to you, George.
Thanks, Elmarie. Hi, everyone. As Elmarie mentioned, my name is George Bohlender, and I'm the Executive Director of Dragonfire Corporate Solutions in Durian Berhad. So we are a management consulting company here in Malaysia, but we do work globally. Wow, I tell you, these sessions today on the future of money, you absolutely have to review these videos again when you have some time. They're just jam-packed with information and with thoughts and views. And Elmarie, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do justice to some of these sessions. Some like Dorjee's session, you know, talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency, and man, you know, this is something that is new to me even. So you know, some of the technical things around that. God willing, I'll be able to do some justice to it, but for everybody out there watching now, you really need to go back to all of these videos and pick out the gems and nuggets that you can actually act upon today, put into practice in your lives on a daily basis, moving forward into the future. So I'm going to first start off with Batya Shulman's presentation on financial independence. Retire early. Is this a pipe dream? So basically, Batya talked about the steps involved in retirement planning. So the important steps being to save early, because the earlier you save, the more money that you will have when you do want to retire. And this, she says, is because of the power of compound interest. She classifies it as the 8th wonder of the world. Well, interest is a double-edged sword to me because I'm Muslim, and so I'll just share my views on that a little bit later. But she talks about saving early. She talks about diversifying your investments. She mentioned be a logical investor rather than an emotional investor. And this, she says, is where people tend to go wrong, is that, you know, they see changes in the financial world. You know, the stock market goes up or stock market goes down, and they tend to want to react to that. So she says, be a patient investor, be a logical investor, don't give in to emotions, because you're investing over the long term. And over the long term, if you're investing in equities, things will always even out. So over the long run, you'll always win, as opposed to trying to make changes in response to things happening in the markets. And none of us are geniuses. None of us can really time our buys and sells. We usually end up buying when we should be selling and selling when we should be buying. So that will ultimately affect the value of our portfolio in the long run. Probably the most important thing is, she says, buy what you can afford and understand what you're buying. So be sure to ask questions. So if you are not a very sophisticated investor, make sure that you understand, that you read all of these documents that your investment manager will give you, the terms and conditions and the fine print. Make sure you read that and make sure you understand it before you sign on the dotted line. She also says that it's imperative for those in the gig economy to have a retirement plan. And she also advocates for everybody, but especially gig workers, to set up an emergency fund where they save 4 to 6 months of their expenses, just in case there's a downturn in the economy or something happens within the family. So she says, make sure that you think about insurance for yourself. Gig workers are not considered employees of a company. They're considered contractors, which means you're responsible for your own expenses, such as insurance. So make sure you have that, especially health insurance. Think about life insurance too. If you have family members like a spouse or children that are depending on your income. just in case that income is disrupted. Points to ponder. She talked briefly about financial literacy and mentioned that it's not offered in the school curriculum. Why not? And this is not a Malaysian issue. Even in Canada, we don't talk about financial literacy in the classrooms, and I really don't understand why we're not. So parents out there, make sure that you get that inserted into the curriculum with your Ministry of Education. This is too important to leave to chance. Batya talked about the wonders of compound interest, and interest itself is a real issue for Muslims. And so for those of you like me who are Muslim, you need to look at alternatives to traditional investing. So, for example, there's certain stocks that you cannot invest in as a Muslim. Companies dealing in alcohol, pornography, weapons, etc. So you need to be mindful of the investments that you're making, and make sure that they are permitted under our religion. I want to move on to a presentation, and this was Mallika Paulraj's presentation, how to best invest, make confident decisions like investing superstars. So where Batya talked about why to invest, Mallika talked about how to invest. So she mentioned that you can either invest yourself or you can invest using a financial advisor, and she pointed out the pitfalls and the benefits of doing both. Again, she stressed that there's emotions involved in investing, and like Batya, she supported the notion that you need to be a logical investor rather than emotional investor for the same reasons. Most people, if they are investing their own money, they lack confidence at the beginning because there's so many products out there. And so what do you choose? How do you make decisions? And so how do we build confidence to pick our own stocks? Well, she suggests that confidence comes from knowing what other people are doing who are doing it well, and copying what they're doing. So she herself studied Warren Buffett's techniques called value investing. And it's basically a philosophy where slow and steady wins the race. And this is what she encourages in terms of investing. It's not about investing one lump sum of money, and then basing all of your returns upon that. But she says that you'll get more bang for the buck if you invest regularly and invest regular amounts. And she says you can take advantage of what's called dollar cost averaging, which means that when the market is high, you'll be buying fewer shares, but you'll still be investing the same amount of money. When the market is low, you'll be buying more shares. So you over the long run, and you're looking at a long-term investment, over the long run, you will benefit from that rather than, again, trying to time the market and trying to figure out when you should buy stocks, when you should sell them. She has her 5 C's of investing, of becoming a super investor. Number 1 is control, taking responsibility of your own money. So even if you outsource the investment to a fund manager, then know what exactly it is that you're outsourcing, where your money is going, and what they're doing with it. Number 2 is that you need confidence. So basically know what the best investors are doing and do likewise. Number 3 is being calm, adjusting your mindset to make decisions based on logic rather than emotion. Number 4 is, the 4th C is clarity. So creating your own balanced framework and layering your investments based on that. And number 5 is having a checklist of basic things to look at before you invest. Remember that anytime something seems too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And also for anything that's being hyped, ask yourself, who is it that's making money off of this? Next, we had Dorjee Sun's session, Surfing the Waves of Change in the Financial World. He talked a little bit about sustainable business, and this is creating a product that has to fit what the market wants. So there has to be market fit. He talked about the toothbrush test, which is, will your product be used at least twice a day by someone? Acceptance in the marketplace and use in the marketplace. Now, with the new technologies, he says that you can raise money before you can even prove traction with an idea or the need for a product. And so this can create some difficulty for businesses that leap before they look, before they have a solid business plan, before they have a solid product. And so for sustainable business, how do you create a product that has a positive impact when you make a sale? So sustainability involves looking at an economic sense and an environmental sense, so marrying the two. No one is entitled to a living, so you've got to create something of value to others that they will pay for. A common theme in many of the presentations that we've been seeing over the past few days is being resilient. As a business owner, you have to be resilient. No is the first step to yes. I like that. He says, but resilience is sometimes difficult for young entrepreneurs that don't have the experience. The second part of Dorjee's session was devoted to the move towards digital currency and blockchain. Basically, the message is that money as we know it, coming off of printing presses, especially in COVID-19, where governments have had to step in and backstop the economy, that's not a very sustainable way anymore to support our economies. It's eventually going to crash. So what he suggests is that we need a new model that is decentralized, that takes the politics out of the currency, and that is supported by blockchain, which is a new technology that will build trust in terms of transactions that are performed electronically. And this blockchain technology, the message that I'm getting is that this can really be a game changer. And what he cited was COVID-19 right now, and the hesitation of a lot of people that even when air travel is opened up, the hesitation they may have about traveling on an airplane. Do we know that everybody's being tested? Do we have confidence in the results? If someone has a test done in one country, will it be accepted by the authorities in another country? So he suggests that the blockchain can take all of the uncertainty, all of the political agendas out of this, and make it solely about the facts. On Laurence Lien's session on philanthropy as a catalyst for change, what he stressed is that philanthropy differs from charity in that charity is more focused on the short term, meeting short-term needs, versus philanthropy, which is focused on addressing long-term and very complex issues. And what he suggests is that the most effective philanthropic organizations are those that collaborate and build up a partnership with local organizations that know the beneficiaries and that know the context of the needs of the needs of the people or the issues. He suggests as well that everybody can be doing philanthropy, and what I really liked is his equating of philanthropy with volunteering. He suggested that people should get involved in volunteering, especially philanthropists, so they can understand the needs on the ground, and so they can develop empathy with the beneficiaries. So there's that other word that we've been hearing over the past few days. Empathy and building trust. He says that basically anybody can do philanthropy, even young people. He says that there's a misconception that you need a whole lot of money to do philanthropy. Well, what he says is that we all have the same amount of time, so we certainly can devote our time to dealing with issues. What he suggests is that we need to avoid reinventing the wheel. So we need to learn from what's done before by other philanthropists. We need to borrow what's worked on similar issues elsewhere, and we need to avoid analysis paralysis. So wanting to wait until we figure everything out before we take action. And so this is very interesting because it sort of meshes in with Dorjee's presentation, where he talks about the young people and some of the young entrepreneurs. And some of the things that we've heard over the past couple of days is that you really don't have to wait until all of the stars are aligned to take action. You do what you can when you can, and just get a start on it. And if you fail, then fail early, fail often, learn, and get up, brush the dust off, and move on. So Caroline Ong's session, meaningful entrepreneurship and business ethics, a new measure of success. So Caroline started off talking about the meaning of entrepreneurship. She talked about the need to advocate credibility, reliability, intimacy, and self-orientation. So that comes from a new quotient. I mean, we've heard of IQ, intelligence quotient, EQ, emotional quotient. Now there's the trust quotient. So there's that word again, trust, building trust. And that relates back to everybody seems to be talking about the human touch. So even though we're involved in the new digital age and AI and robotics and all of this technology, there still seems to be a need for the human touch. Caroline says that there's been a shift in the meaning of business. So the basic concept once upon a time was to earn more money. Then back in the 1990s, it was about people, planet, and profit, the triple bottom line. And now in the early 2000s, it's gone beyond that to a cognitive era. So how do you create value? How do you give value to stakeholders? And how do you expand the ecosystem to involve suppliers and the like? Purpose-driven companies, pandemic has shown that humanity rises above all else. And then many businesses have demonstrated that by pivoting to create value instead of extracting value.
Thank you, George. Wow, you did such a thorough investigation and summary of all these sessions. Thank you for picking up also on those themes, because those themes also link to the rest of the conference. And it's so interesting. It wasn't planned, but what we realized as we listened and we conducted these interviews was that these themes are running laterally. The theme of the impact of technology, because that impacts on school, it impacts on work, it impacts on money, and tomorrow our participants will also see how it impacts on skills, because if you don't acquire the skills, you cannot ignore it. You cannot bury your head under a pillow or something and say, I'm not going to use this technology, because you will just be left behind. And how AI is actually now really, it's accelerating, and it's actually sometimes quite frightening to see. Yes. But as you mentioned, and as Caroline mentioned, the human touch will never go away, right? We can never replace humans. And so many people, yes. George,
that's the thing, is that even in acquiring the skills, it's acquiring the skills that will enable you, not replace you. So
yes.
I don't think we need to be afraid that we're going to be replaced by technology anytime soon, in spite of all the sci-fi movies out there.
There's a lot of people that are afraid of it, and then there's the people that say, well, hang on a minute, maybe technology will take away some of those mundane routine tasks, but they don't look at the other side of the coin. How many new job opportunities are being created on a daily basis? But if you yourself don't equip yourself with the skills to learn new things and to reboot yourself, then you will become obsolete. So I think there's a question of ownership, of action, and it takes me to Mallika Paulraj's 5 C's. It's very applicable in so many parts of our lives, right? It's be calm, be confident, take ownership. It's about also having those checklists. I think it's really important.
Well, in her presentation in particular, she commented on the disconnection between our needs and the needs of investment advisors. For example, we're looking at a long-term return, whereas our investment advisors are looking at quarterly reports and results.
Yes.
And so if we don't take responsibility, we'll have our retirement hijacked.
Yeah, and that's so true. It's that element of control. Like in the first day, if you think back to Ben Sauter's presentation as well, the future of universities is going to give more control to the students. So looking at micro credentials, looking at building your degree with different components, doing one part of your degree at one university and another part at another university. And you then, instead of being handed down this fixed curriculum, you then will have impact. And Bruno yesterday in his session spoke about role crafting, where the employee then takes more control. And so it's great. But like within this conference, we are giving people the opportunity to take action. We're giving them the opportunity to participate in the channels, to talk, to interview, to ask questions. But I'm not seeing that yet. I hope people will take more action and take more control of, and you yourself mentioned at the beginning, watch these sessions again, review them.
Yes.
They're so rich in information and strategies that you can implement in your own life. So that's a really good point that you've mentioned, the fact that we have these themes. So we have, as you mentioned, the theme of resilience. Now, resilience, emotional intelligence, empathy, those skills that you as a human being have to develop. That's one thing that really runs across the conference. And another one then, as I said, is technology. With the digital economy, and you go to China, who pays cash in China? Everybody just uses it. Even the vendors or old ladies on the bicycles have their phones, and they are using apps. And then we have people who say, I don't really know how to they don't even know the passwords of their I can't blame people. I forget my passwords too. But and another theme that's come up is inclusion. And inclusion, and in Dorjee's session, I don't know if you picked that up, but he mentioned, you've got to also, you have to have inclusive teams. So you have to have, if you want to have a product, he mentions these 4 people. I think it is the hacker who hacks into the opportunities, who sees the new products and opportunities, and then you have the hustler, the one who can sell, and the hipster who makes it look good, the graphics and the communication, and the housekeeper, the one that has to have the structures and the policies and the governance. And I think so often we're just in the hacker phase, and we don't think of who can fulfill all these other roles. I don't know if you've seen that in your own work with companies, George.
Well, one thing that I have seen is there's an Italian economic developer named Ernesto Ciroli, and he proposed the management, the Trinity of Management, which basically says that for a business to be successful, they need to be able to do 3 things. Number one is to be able to produce the product or service that people want to buy. Number 2 is to market that product or service successfully. And then number 3 is to be able to look after the finances. And so his conclusion is that no one person can do all 3 things equally well. So you have to be able to do what you do best, and then farm out the other 2 processes to other people that do them better than you do.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And that's where you can have wonderful ideas. And I have to be honest, I see that with myself. I'm an ideas person. I've got great ideas, I've got great products, but how do you market that? How do you need that machinery, and and I've seen with this conference, what was involved, and I've also reflected on what I could have done better and what we will do better moving forward, so as Dorjee says, fail fast. I don't think we failed, but you must reflect and you must see, constantly look back at, okay, so what can we improve? How can we improve? What's the next step? How can we capitalize on our learning? So, that is fantastic. So yes, those are so if you go into the EdSpace channels, you will see that you can actually go and ask questions today. You can go and pose your questions to the speakers. If you're shy to make a video, you can type in the EdSpace channel and just type your question, and the speakers can respond to your question. You can also go to the Mentimeter. Underneath there's a Mentimeter link where you can actually respond, give your feedback, ask questions. You can go on Facebook on the Inspired channel. You can tweet at the Inspired conference, but if you don't share, if you don't take action, if you don't get engaged, you are not going to be able to make those partnerships and connections that you are now in a wonderful opportunity to do. And I also want to say that I want to remind people that this is going on. This is an ongoing movement. We're not stopping here at the conference. The aim is to make it sustainable. The sessions are available for a full year. We would encourage you to engage. We are going to publish lots of little articles. We're going to ask your opinion. We would love everybody to continue this journey of the Inspired Conference with us. And we're so thankful, George, to have you and Honey with us, and for you to share your wisdom and your insights today. And I'm sure, you have a lot of experience as a business owner and in the financial world. And can people also reach out to you, George, if they have any questions?
Yeah, they certainly can. They certainly can.
That is wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you for being part of this new movement to inspire people to make a difference in the world and to collaborate. I hope we form a lot of new partnerships and collaborations, all with this aim of a better, sustainable, healthier, happier world where people feel fulfilled, where we close the gap between the haves and the have-nots, and that we work towards achieving the sustainable development goals. Thank you very much for your insight and your hard work in making this happen, George.
You're most welcome, Elmarie. It's been a pleasure, and it will continue to be.
Thank you. That's good. Right. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now.